Discipline, defined as punishment by way of, inflicted by way of correction or training. The word meaning literally to teach. So is spanking a form of punishment, or is this corporal punishment actually a form of child abuse? The controversy over using a punishment such as spanking a child is an ongoing debate in today's country. The debate over spanking has become a topic of whether it's a form of discipline or just plain child abuse. Some argue that they were spanked as a child and they turned out just fine. Back in the day, punishment was strict and had little limits, even allowing teachers to use corporal punishment at school. Nowadays, the laws crack down and has become stricter against corporal punishment. Many professionals, from pediatric doctors to child psychologists, have performed many studies on the subject. What they have learned about this form of discipline will give you insight into this ongoing debate. The debate over spanking a child has become a very hot topic. Spanking a child can have many effects, both internal and external, on the child and lead to lifelong problems. One of the biggest effects is the increasing the child's aggression throughout their years. Alice Park of Time magazine gave an example of a typical 3-year-old child that is spanked will begin to show signs of aggression as early as age 5. She quoted, "Spanking remained a strong predictor of violence. By using this form of physical discipline, parents are in turn teaching their children that aggression and forms of violence are acceptable. It is showing the child that it is okay to use violence to handle a situation or use violence to solve right from wrong." To add to the mix, spanking a child is a misleading form of punishment that installs fear. When a parent disciplines a child in general, the idea is to teach them what they did wrong and how to correct the behavior. However, as a parent, it is also our part of the discipline to help them understand the right way. By spanking a child, discipline is simply installing fear and not helping them understand the why of right and wrong. As I set out to find a professional opinion on the subject, I had a long sit-down with my big sister, Natalie. My older sister works for Nebraska Child Protective Services and deals and works with a lot of child abuse cases. When asked whether spanking was abuse or a form of discipline, she hesitated. She said it's a hard decision to make because not all spanking is abuse. However, in her mind, spanking should not be a form of punishment, and it is not effective for any reason. All a parent does when they spank their child is teaching them to handle situations with aggression. Furthermore, in my opinion, it's a less effective form of punishment. I asked her to expand on why it was an ineffective form of punishment and what she thought was more effective. She stated that when you spank a child, it causes them pain, fear, and it hurts their feelings. With most children having this mix of overload of feelings causes them to turn their brains off to listening to the lesson. The whole entire idea of disciplining a child is to tell them what they are doing wrong and why it's wrong. Nally went on to ask me how we are supposed to teach them the why, and how to correct it if they are too busy focused on the fear. Being a parent requires, 1, not only for us to care for a child for their well-being, but to help them learn life's lessons. Robert Feldman, writer of Development Across the Lifespan, discusses in his book Effective and Ineffective Ways of Discipline. He talks about different parenting styles like authoritative, authoritarian, and permissive. Of these parenting styles, the authoritative parenting style is the most successful for both the parent and the child. With the authoritative parenting, rules are set, guidelines are made, and punishment for breaking the rules or going off the guidelines is in no way harsh punishment. Feldman states this about spanking. Not only is spanking less effective than other techniques in curbing undesirable behaviors, but it leads to additional unwanted outcomes, such as the potential for more aggression and behavior. Rather than using violence to correct a situation, Feldman recommended using discipline that is geared towards helping and teaching. One form of discipline that is recommended, I find it's very helpful with my son, is a timeout method. Oftentimes, when a child is making a bad decision or being unsafe, timeout works first because it pulls them out of the situation. Also, using this method of discipline allows them to sit and think about what they did wrong and why it was bad or unsafe behaviors. I find this very effective with my 5-year-old son, oftentimes when he's making a bad decision, like jumping on the bed. I'll pull him out and sit him down in timeout. He must sit there for about anywhere from 2 to 3 minutes and think about why he's in timeout. At the end of his timeout time, me and him sit down and we talk. What was your bad behavior? Why was it bad or unsafe? And what can we do to correct it next time? Another point brought up by my sister, as well as Cherie Talk of CNN, is drawing a line between spanking and abuse. Both Cherie in her article and my sister both stated that all too often spanking can very easily be turned into an abuse in an instant. I have seen it, Cherie quotes, I have seen it all too often that when a parent considers legitimate discipline, can quickly deteriorate into violence fueled by anger. Sometimes anger can get the best of a person in a situation, like punishing a child. It can all too quickly turn into something more than just a spanking. The worst part of the loss of control during a situation such as disciplining a child is the child is the one that suffers the most. Not only do they suffer immediate physical pain, but they are also long-term effects of their psychological. However, the loss of control can lead to threatening effects to the parent too. In some cases, this loss of control can end in the result of losing the child to CPS. Kenneth Dodge stated that children who are a product of physical punishment, such as spanking, tend to have more external behavior issues. Parents often defend their punishments that they don't spank their children too hard. Dodge says this about spanking. Mild spanking in 1 year is a risk factor for harsher spanking in the next year. Spanking, whether harsh or mild, can ultimately affect a child's behaviors. It can cause a child to lash out easier, be overaggressive, and difficulties with behavior. Using spanking discipline can also start a vicious cycle down the family line. Most often, children grow up learning parent skills from their very own parents. Another side effect of spanking is it can cause a child to become withdrawn and effects of the child's personality. Researchers have done studies linking spanking to a child's personality and how it can cause a child to become antisocial. Beaver quotes, "Our findings suggest that genetic risk factors condition the effects of spanking on antisocial behavior. Spanking a child can cause a child's self-esteem to decrease. Also, it could cause a child to be constantly angry or down on themselves. Causing these sort of emotions on a child can cause a child to not want to be around other children. Also, it can cause built-up anger against themselves, their parents, and other children." In conclusion, like stated by my sister, not all spanking is abuse. With that being said, I stand my ground that spanking as a form of discipline should not be allowed. I think that there are better options out there that don't put the children at risk. I think that there is an extremely thin line between spanking and abuse, between spanking being abuse or being a simple discipline. I don't think that anyone should ever walk or go anywhere near that line. For the sake of the children, parents need to find a disciplinary action that teaches and not installs fear. This is an issue that needs immediate attention for the sake of the children around the world. I believe that we the people need to band together to protect our children and encourage a teachable punishment rather than a violent